Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to this Monday morning with Business Coach Moloy, and a very good morning as we start this new journey together. And honestly, as I was creating this content over the past few weeks, have begun to believe that this is going to be one of our most important series ever that I've done. I've done this Facebook Live for the past now 4 years, but I believe that this will be one of those most important series because the conversations we're about to have are not startup conversations. These are not on how to get your first customer conversations. These are not motivational conversations. These are conversations for entrepreneurs who have already built something, people who have struggled, survived, grown, expanded, and yet are discovering something unexpected. A different kind of exhaustion, a different kind of loneliness. And if I have to summarize this entire series in one sentence, and this is going to be a 24 episode series, so please be hooked on to this. On the live, you can ask questions, which obviously you can't do on the when you see the YouTube recordings. But I am available even on WhatsApp, etc., to answer your questions. So, if I were to summarize this entire series in one sentence, I would say many entrepreneurs work very hard to grow their business, but then quietly discover that growth itself starts becoming difficult to manage. And this is what this series is about: not growth, but scaling without control. And let me start something very honest. In the early years of entrepreneurship, everything looks exciting. Growth is exciting. But you remember those days, one small order used to make our day. One new customer created energy. You could work 14 hours and still feel charged because there was movement, there was hunger, there was ambition. And in those days, entrepreneurs survived largely on emotional energy. Hope carries them, vision carries them, adrenaline carries them. But then something changes. One day, the same entrepreneur wakes up and realizes the business is growing, but why does everything suddenly seem heavier? Why is, why is that? Nobody has prepared that entrepreneur for this. Revenue may be growing, offices may be larger, team may be expanding, customers may be increasing, and yet internally, the entrepreneur starts feeling more stretched, more mentally occupied, more emotionally tired, and strangely, contrary to why businesses were set up, he has less time. Let me tell you something about a conversation I still remember. A few years back, I was sitting with an entrepreneur who had a very respectable business, second generation businessman, sharp mind, hardworking, good reputation. And yet, during the conversation, he suddenly leaned back and said something that stayed with me forever. He said, Moloy, when the business was smaller, I had less money but more peace. But today, business is larger, but my mind never switches off. Many entrepreneurs are not getting exhausted because they're working hard. Entrepreneurs are getting exhausted because business is permanently occupying mental space. Even when you're at home, part of your mind is still working. Some unresolved issue sitting there, a customer issue, a cash flow issue, a hiring problem, a delayed payment, a team conflict, a pending decision. Something is always running in the background. And over time, the entrepreneurs stop noticing how mentally loaded they have become. We are taught grow more, expand faster, increase revenue, scale operations, but very few people honestly talk about that's what scaling does psychologically. A 10% business is one type of a problem, a 50% business is another, a 100% business has another. And I make the statement every problem has a solution. We have always been told, but every solution now has a new problem. When growth starts punishing us informally, what helped you grow initially can become later the reason why growth becomes painful. And unfortunately, most entrepreneurs don't realize this So what happens? Everything still flows through them, every escalation, every important customer, every key approval, every crisis, every major hiring decision. The founder slowly becomes decision maker, problem solver, relationship manager, firefighter, and the emotional stabilizer of the organization. So, how many entrepreneurs in this room can tell me if I were to disconnect completely for even 1 week, something may go wrong? Now, whether this fear is fully true or not is another discussion. But emotionally, this is a very big reality. They stop relaxing, vacations become partial, family dinners become interrupted, even sleep becomes lighter. The business stops being work and start becoming a physiological weight. And this is something outsiders rarely understand. For entrepreneurs, it becomes emotional. The business travels home, the uncertainty travels home, the pressure travels home. And if the business is stressed, they are stressed. If collections are delayed, money is disturbed. If customers slow down, emotional energy changes. External people may think the entrepreneur is doing very well. I hear this statement every single day when I go up and down my elevator in my building. You're doing very well. You're visible. You're being seen. You travel so much. Once my driver told me, sir, आपके पास तो बहुत पैसा होगा. मैं बोला क्यों? He says, sir, आप तो हर हफ्ते फ्लाइट में जाते हैं. But internally, systems become weak. Communication is becoming chaotic. In other words, the business is growing in revenue, but becoming weaker structurally. And the structured growth is the problem. Growth itself is beautiful. Growth itself creates opportunities. Growth creates impact. Growth creates employment. But growth without a structure creates chaos. But chaos is not mandatory. Large businesses have gone through this system. The one line alone that can change the way entrepreneurs think, because in small businesses, memory works, informal communication works, personal supervision works. But in large businesses, it's clarity, it's process, delegation, alignment, leadership, and communication. Those entrepreneurs who delay the shift because they are still emotionally attached to the old ways of operating are the people who continue to struggle. But here's the good news. That first phase is not failure. This phase is transition. The business is forcing the entrepreneur to evolve from operator to organization builder, from individual performer to leadership architect, from personally solving problems to building systems that solve problems. That evolution is very, very uncomfortable, but very necessary. So today I leave you with a very difficult question. It's difficult to answer, but you have to find that answer. Is your business truly scaling, or is complexity scaling faster than capability? Because these are two different signs. And the entrepreneur who learns to recognize the difference early are the ones who eventually build calm, scalable organizations. Think about it. Write down whatever you feel. Spend 15 minutes of yourself together, totally alone, and ask this question. Is your business truly scaling, or is complexity scaling faster than capability? Because we will keep on discussing all of these as we go forward into our next 23 episodes. In the next episode, we are going to discuss something that silently sits behind most growing businesses, the founder dependency trap. Why everything still depends on the entrepreneur, why teams stop taking ownership, why decision making becomes slow, and why founders themselves become the bottlenecks without intending to. That conversation is going to feel very personal for many entrepreneurs, because many entrepreneurs like us, we have somewhere become the bottleneck into our growth. Final thought for today, ladies and gentlemen, as we embark on this very interesting but very heart-wrenching series that if I can call. Growth should increase capability, not only pressure. And when the emotional capacity of the founder becomes the main system holding the business together, the business has reached its next stage of evolution. And this evolution is what the series is all about. This evolution is finding the right people around you. This evolution is finding the right systems around you. The evolution is learning to say no to some things, because this evolution is what is truly going to scale up this business with a structure. Till next Monday, same place, same time. I look forward to continuing this journey with you. Till then, God bless, have a great week, and I shall see you on the other side.